This is the part 7 of iris anatomy. This is the last part of the iris anatomy. And in this part, I'll be talking about the movement of fluid and solute across the iris. It is from the Wolff's anatomy, chapter 9, the iris anatomy. This part is from the page number 332. So the movement of fluid and solute across the iris. It has already been noted that the anterior surface of the iris and its stroma are freely accessible to the diffusion of fluid and solute from the aqueous humor. In this respect, the anterior and posterior chambers of the eye have different permeability properties. The anterior chamber has leaky walls by which water may leave either by diffusion across the corneal endothelium, the iris or ciliary body stroma, or by pressure-dependent bulb flow via the conventional drainage pathway or uveoscleral system. The posterior chamber is completely secluded by the impermeable epithelia of the iris and ciliary body. The iris pigment epithelium is also able to pump anions out of the posterior chamber. The features of the capillaries of the iris and ciliary body are different. The ciliary capillaries being permeable and the iris capillaries impermeable to tracer materials such as horseradish peroxidase. Furthermore, the few plasmalumal vesicles of the endothelial cells of the iris capillaries are incapable of transporting significant amounts of tracer material across the endothelium. Thus, in normal conditions, only tiny amounts of plasma proteins reach the anterior chamber by way of the iris vessels, although protein, which leaks into the ciliary body stroma via the fenestrated ciliary vessels, will have access to the anterior chamber at the iris root. However, although intravenously injected horseradish peroxidase diffuses readily into the stroma of the iris root, from the ciliary body stroma, it is prevented from reaching the posterior chamber across the iris epithelium by the zonuli occludenti of the posterior pigmented epithelium. The continuous non-fenestrated vascular endothelium prevents the entry of proteins and tracer molecules from the vessel lumen into the iris stroma in the normal eye. With inflammation, for example iritis, this barrier breaks down and allows protein to pass into the aqueous, where it becomes visible by slit lamp microscopy as an aqueous flare. Fredo and Sachs Villeneuve in 1989 observed simplification and disruption of endothelial tight junctions in endotoxin-induced uveitis in rabbits, which resulted in a leakage of tracer primarily through the interendothelial clefts of the vessels. In these studies, junctional simplification involved a reduction of junctional strands and a loss of the ridges and grooves of the P and E faces. These changes were similar to but possibly less marked than the changes observed in ciliary epithelium during uveitis. In other tissues which possess a distinct arteriole capillary venular unit, the increase in permeability associated with inflammation commonly affects the post-capillary venule, for which there appears to be no parallel in the iridial vessels. Instead, the junctions of the iridial vessels are more characteristic of true arterioles. Although the retinal vessels have similar permeability characteristics to the iris capillaries, they respond differently to inflammatory mediators. It is of interest, however, that while the iris vessels of the cat, rabbit, and rat become permeable to tracers after parasitosis, the monkey iris vessels do not. Enough for today, and here I conclude the iris anatomy. In part 8, I'll be talking about the iris anatomy. My notes on iris anatomy in short means around 1 hour. My notes on iris anatomy. It will take around 1 hour. So I'll make this video after a week because I want to make a clinical video on gonioscopy first, and then I'll be starting the vitreous anatomy. After finishing the vitreous anatomy as a revision, I'll make notes on iris anatomy, and I'll make a video on my notes on iris anatomy. Thank you for listening to me patiently. Bye. Take care.